Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 4. In this chapter we are going to focus on introducing some ways in which objects may be grouped together into the various collections. We will discuss the array list of class as an example of flexible size collection. So the size of array could be flexible. Also, we will talk about two new control structures, for each loop and while loop. In this chapter, also we start making use of library classes that are actually available in Java. So that part is very important to focus on. So you might ask, why do we want to use the library classes? A lot of people who are writing Java program, they always look at the libraries to see if someone else has already written a class that they can make use of. So they don't have to rewrite that. It actually saves them a lot of time that they can basically spend on working on other parts of the program. Normally, while we are going through the chapters of this book, you can see that we go back continuously, revisit some of the themes that we have maybe got introduced in previous chapter. So normally we call this an iterative approach, and in programming, that's how a lot of people use this method, the iterative approach, to build their programs. In this chapter, we will talk about the collection. Which we use in grouping things so that we can refer to them and manage them all together. A collection could be large. It could be such as all the students maybe in a university, or it could be small, maybe the courses that one student is taking, or even empty. Maybe you don't even own any collection. Maybe sometimes you might think about as collection as collecting stamps, maybe collecting bicycles, maybe collecting music or ornaments or so on. So there are some common actions that we will want to do with our collections from time to time. Maybe we want to add to our collection, or maybe we want to reduce them. Or maybe we want to actually duplicate them. So what we just described here is basically we want to put some operation to our collection. So as we have discussed before, maybe in the other chapters, a collection object can store an arbitrary number of other objects. And in a programming context, the collection abstraction becomes a class of some sort, and the operation would be the method of that class. A particular collection, let's say music collection, would be an instance of that class. So the item could be stored in collection instances. So as we said, the object that the items that are stored in collection instances would themselves be objects as well. So some of the collection examples, as you can see here, personal organizers, library catalogs, student record systems. Also could be the number of items to be stored in these would also vary. So items that could be added and items that can be basically deleted from these collections. So in here we're going to actually look at an organizer for our music files. A lot of you probably organize your music files. So in the music files we want to track files that can be added. Also in our organizer, there's no predefined limit to the number of files that we can have. It will also tell how many files names are being stored in this collection, and it will also list individual file names. So let's look at the music organizer v1 in the project files, and let's look at the source code for that. So let's look at our music organizer from the project file that we have downloaded a couple of weeks ago. So basically we are on chapter 4, and you can open the music organizer v1. So this is under the project folder that you have downloaded. So it's chapter 4 and music organizer v1. So basically for me it's like this. So for you will be something like that as well. So we are going to open the music organizer v1 from the project that we have downloaded a few weeks ago. So if you see under project, we are on chapter 4, and you can open the music organizer v1. And you can actually use the tool to compile the program, which goes line by line, and if there was an error, it's going to tell us. Or we can, for our purpose, we just want to double click on it so that we can look at the source code. So you have also documentation in here. So normally when there is a file, it's always good to have a documentation. And in documentation, you can actually see what methods they have used, what constructors they have used, and so on. So the first line, you can see import java.util.arraylist. Basically, when you look at this, we see that we are probably importing something from somewhere. So the first line of the code is actually shows you that you are trying to import from somewhere. So we are trying to actually access a library class in Java via this import statement. So we are going to sometimes import something or import a package from somewhere else because we don't want to rewrite everything again. We can actually use something that some other people have used it. So we are going to make the ArrayList class from the java.util package available to our class definition. This import statement must always be placed before the class definition in a file. Once a class name has been imported from a package, we can use that class just as if that was one of our own classes. So we use the array list at the head of music organizer class to define a files field. So we have a class, and in the class we will have an array list for storing the file name of music file. So basically, inside this class we have the array list here. So in here, every file will have a name. That's why we have it as a string. Then in here, we are using a method to create a new file. So we are creating a method to create a new file. So the format to create a new file is new, the type name. So for us in here, we have the full type name for our collection is called array list string. So the array list, basically we can put it here. So the files is equals to new array list, and this could be a string and an open bracket, the parentheses. So we are using the library name and then the type of it. So in here, the next part, we are going to be able to actually add more files to our music organizer class. So we are going to add more files by using files.add and then the file name. In here, we have to specify the number of files in the connection. So we have to specify the number of files that we are going to have in this collection. So get number of files is the basically the method, and what we are returning is the file size. So if we return how many files we will have in the music organizer. So basically by return files.size bracket semicolon, you can see how many files you will have in your collections. In next part, we will see how we are going to list them. Sometimes we like to see them in listed and organize it like that. So we will have the list file integer index. So the way we are going to list is going to be the integer is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's why we are going to use the integer here. So for the collection, we always start indexing, and maybe you have heard it from other classes or something. The indexing normally starts from 0. So we're going to say if index greater or equal to 0 and index is smaller than the total of file size, then we do this. So we use the conditional, same as everyday life. If this is like this, then we do this. So in the here, always index is greater than 0. We start always from 0, and then if index is smaller than the file size. So let's say the number of file that we are going to have is 5,000 songs, and if index is less than 5,000, let's say 3,000 something, so the both condition would be true. So if that's the case, you will have a file name, and then you will have, so if it's greater than 3,000 and smaller than 5,000, then your file name will appear in there, and you will print that. The next part is basically when we want to remove a file from our collection. So again, it would be an integer, and it will basically have same as the add file. So again, if index is greater than or equal to 0 and index is smaller than file size, then again something happens. So we will remove that file. So based on our index, we are going to remove the file. So in here we have used the various methods. So and some functionality that we did, we added, we got the size, we actually got it, and actually we have removed some files. So the add method of an array list stores an object in the list, and the size method would tell us how many items are currently basically stored, if it's like 500 songs, 300 songs, or whatever. And then we looked at how to get and remove the methods, and also we basically list the files that was there, and then we remove those files. So now if we go back to our PowerPoint, we have a little bit more idea of what we have talked about. So basically we talked about the class library is basically a collection of useful classes. As we said, we don't have to write anything from scratch. We can just use some of the things that other people have used. And then Java calls their library as packages. And also we talked about grouping objects is a recurring requirements. And the java.util package contains classes for doing this. And we just saw it in that project example. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to show you is the Java libraries. Remember how to get this. This is under module, and you have, and I put a Java class library, so you can click on that, and then you will get this package. So basically, here it will list all of the libraries that you will need to know. You have a lot of packages that are here and a lot of classes that are actually here. This is basically the Oracle website, and in here there are basically kind of a standard. Those people who are expert in the field, they put these packages and these classes here. It's impossible for all of us to know all of this, but it actually makes our life easier if we know how to use them. And because there are a lot of them that are out here, we don't have to rewrite codes and things like that, so it would be easier for us if we kind of understand these packages and these libraries. So you can actually basically click on so you can just click on the package. Like for example, I can just click this and I will find all of this. You can also see a summary of that classes that are being used and all that. So if we look at our project, so we have the java.util.arraylist. So java.util is the library, and then the arraylist is the class in that library. So if you want to actually import everything, not only the array.class, you can just put asterisks after java.util, and it's going to import everything in that library. But then it's going to be very confusing if you're going to import everything. So most of the time you just want to import the things that you might need. So you might import some classes or one class or something like that. You don't want to import entire library into your file. So let's find Java util. On our library in here, we just find Java util. And for here you see interfaces, and then we want classes. So we want to see the array list. So as you can see, we can find it here and see what is the things that are inside it. So this is what we have used in our project, Java util, and then the array list in here. So you can actually go down there and you can find anything that you need about this class array list. So you can see the constructors that are there, and it basically tells you what each of them are. So this is constructor and empty list with initial capacity of 10. It gives you each of them the parameter, it gives you the definition, it gives you the details. So basically anything that you need to know about this. It talks about the size of it and index of and everything that you need to basically know about this class. So it even talks about the get method here. So you will basically have some specification and guidelines that you want to do. For example, if you want to use different methods, you can actually find different methods that are out there, and then you can click on it and get a description of all those methods that are available there. So sometimes at the beginning it's hard to know what each of those methods are being used. For example, maybe if you want to remove the all elements, maybe you sometimes have to guess, like maybe clear can clear those, or delete, you can use a delete method or something like that. But as soon as you start using these, you are becoming more familiar, and then by practice you can understand all of these better, and then it will be easier for you to implement them in your program. So now if we go back here, this is what we just went through the source code. So in collection, we can basically specify the type of collection, which is the array list. And then also we can specify the type of object that it will contain, which is a string. So for example, we want to have list of a song, and then song has a name, which is a string. So we can say array list of strings. So the generic classes collections are known as parameters or generic types. The array list implements list of functionality, some of the functionality that we talked about, add, get, size, remove, and all that. The type of parameters says what we want for a list to be. For example, array list of person, array list of ticket machines, and so on. So we can create an array list of object. So when we looked at our project, we probably saw when we created a new array list, we had this sign, the greater and the smaller, and then we had this parenthesis. We didn't have this string in there. So in the Java notation, this is how we write it. Java 7 introduced the diamond notation, which we don't specify the string in there. But prior version of 7, we had to specify that. So this is just basically to make our life simpler. So that's why they have introduced this diamond notation. So object structure with collections. We can see that basically this is our music organizer is connected to the array list, and then the array list is actually connected to these strings. So these could be the name of it, it could be our song. So both of these songs, which are the type of string, are belonging to the array list, and then array list is belonging to the my music instructor. So if we want to add the third song, we are actually going to add it to the array list, which will have the index from 0 to whatever. So, and then will be added at the bottom of here. So in this file, you can see that it got added to the array list, and also it will come here as the new song. Some of the feature of this collection is it increases its capacity as necessary. It can get bigger as it can. It keeps a private count, and it keeps the object in order. So basically, for example, if we have if we start indexing it from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, so if we have 5 items, we can basically index it from 0, so it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we delete one of those songs, like if we delete number 2, the number 3 will become to number 2. So it will be in the order. It's not going to be in alphabetical. It's going to be in the order that we have entered it in. And you cannot put free spaces. So that's why it's moving based on the order that you have entered it in. So in this, using the location, we can basically add a new file and returning the number of files. For example, in here, this is not, we're talking about indexing. This just gives me how many songs we basically have. And it's not doing any indexing. It just gives me the total number of songs not in any order. So basically, it's not numbers in order. But in here, we have the index number. So from 0, 1, 2, 3. So each of these songs will have a number in our index. And if we remove one, this will go and take this space. So we cannot have an empty space. So basically, this is called basically the array list, which works with indexes, and it starts from 0. So in here, we will have 3 songs. If we want the file size, we will get 3. But if we are talking about the number of index, we are going to get 2, because we are going to start indexing it from 0. So it's true, we have 3 as total of file size, but our indexing starts with 0, so in terms of index, we have 2. So the next thing we are going to talk about, which we talked about briefly before, is retrieving an object. So in here, we are going to actually check for index validity. And remember, both conditions have to be true in order for the statement to be true. So if one statement is true, the other one is false, so that it will be false. So that's what we are going to check for the validity. So, and because we are going to start the indexing, we are going to start from 0. So remember, it cannot be a negative number because we are talking about the location. Location cannot have a negative number. So if the condition is true, you retrieve and print the file name. And if it's not, then it's not a valid index and you're going to get an error message. So let's say maybe you have your file size, you have 100 items in your file. The file size could be 100, but your index would be 99. So if the index is always showing that it's smaller, If it's bigger, then it's not going to be a valid index. Next thing that we're going to talk about is the removal may affect numbering, as we said. So if we delete one, it will actually change the index as well. So, and you will never have an empty space in the index. So in here, if you basically remove one file, so your index will be affected and it will be changed. So we use integer to index collection, and it has a general utility. The next is basically always index plus 1. Previous one is index minus 1. You cannot jump like 3, 4 together. You have to go consecutively. And then last is basically the list size minus 100. So for example, if you have 100 items, your index would be 99. So that's how you will go, and you will always start from the 0, and you can basically go in a sequence 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So let's review what we have learned so far. The collection allows an arbitrary number of objects to be stored. Class libraries usually contains try and tested collection classes, so it's not like somebody just created those. These are somebody who have worked on, so they create these classes. Java classes libraries are called packages, so you can call them packages. We have used the array list class from the java.util package, which I've shown you already. So as we have learned, we can add items and remove them. Each item will have an index. Index value can change if the items are removed. Remember, if there is an item removed, your index value would be changed. The main array list methods are basically that we talked about are add, get, removed, and size. An array list, as we have described it, is parameterized and it's a generic type of class. The next thing that we're going to look at is just some popular error that you can just look at it at your own time. So each of these slides will have some of the popular error, and you can actually look at them and see what is the error in each of these slides. So we have a lot of them to look at, and it's very important that a lot of people make these syntax errors. So this is like equals to true. You can see that the correct version is this, and we can go look at this again, what's wrong with this, and then you can see this is the same thing, and then this is the correct version of it that you might have. So we're going to stop here, grouping object. This is going to be the second part of the video. I try to make the video short, but this chapter is very big, so I'm still trying to make each section under 30 minutes. So this is the first part. Thank you, and watch for the next section.